12 seconds of effort, where 12 seconds of effort are put into the video. There will be a transcript of the video in the description at the bottom, and I apologize, my voice is annoying, but I can't change it. Hey guys, so this is my first video. Now that we're at a new year, I want to try to get you guys one every Monday, assuming anyone actually watched this, which they might not. Anyway, as I assume you saw from the title, today we're going to talk about why Rise of Skywalker is the best Star Wars movie ever. There's a number of reasons I'm of this opinion, so we'll just go through them one by one. First, let's address just how amazing it is that this movie turned out the way it was. Even if it had just been merely decent, it'd be kind of amazing. In 2015, J.J. Abrams gave us The Force Awakens, a movie that was pretty good, although since The Last Jedi, a bunch of people decided to hate The Force Awakens as well. So for now, let's just pretend there was no Last Jedi, and we just have Episode 7 from Disney. Pretty good movie, exciting story, but one of the main things is all the mystery and potential is set up. We got the mystery of the Snoke guy, who is he, or at least where did he come from? There's Luke, who vanished and we don't know where he is. And then at the end, Rey finds him, and all of us are excited to see where this goes. How will Luke react to Rey? What does Snoke have in store for us? And what's the rest of Kylo Ren's story? Has he completely given himself to the dark side now that he's killed his father? Then Rian Johnson got that movie, and out of his desire to subvert expectations, screwed with the whole concept of a trilogy by killing off the main villain in part 2. He also got the characters of Rey and Kylo Ren and pretended that there would be some progression, Rey turning to dark or Kylo turning to light, and then they both ended up exactly where they were at the start. He also totally screwed with the character of Luke Skywalker, ruining him. Even Mark Hamill, who knows the character better than any of us, saw that this isn't Luke Skywalker. So Star Wars got handed back to J.J. Abrams. He got to finish the story, completely changing some of the plans he'd set up in the beginning. I had hope because I trusted him. I liked Mission Impossible and Star Trek and of course The Force Awakens, so I knew that he wasn't an idiot. But there was still fear. But he did it all. Of course, Luke couldn't be completely fixed in a way where he didn't do the things he did in The Last Jedi, but J.J. Abrams flipped him around. Luke talks to Rey and helps her in her fight against the dark side, and one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the X-Wing getting lifted out of the water. The fact that Luke does it with ease, no longer doubting at all, was not just growth, but kind of like a completion of the character. We saw in Return of the Jedi that he had grown and doubted less, but this was even better. And yet The Last Jedi is still part of the trilogy and it wasn't ignored. Even the bad parts of the story are still parts of the story, like how essential the Dark World was to Endgame, though I did like the second Thor, but that'll be for another time. Anyway, another great thing, on a side note, is I love that it was the same music playing from Empire in the X-Wing scene as was here. Can I just take this moment to say that John Williams is, like, the best, because he is. I'm sad that this is the last Star Wars movie he'll do, because that guy is amazing. Okay, where was that? Oh, Snoke. The villain that got killed off in a way that seemed almost like Rian Johnson was just saying, JJ, your idea sucks, so take this. It was the same deal with calling the mask ridiculous and destroying the beginning of the movie, which I'm now grateful for because that mask with the red cracks, like rebelt and stuff, just looks so freaking awesome. But yeah, the main villain gets killed off, but surprise, he isn't. It's been Palpatine from the beginning. But that would have seemed like poor writing had it not been for the fact that he made Snoke, a twist that was very different from what I expected, and I think is a good tie between people that had outlandish theories and people that wanted him to be nobody. It works so well having Palpatine be the creator of Snoke, and Snoke having been a puppet, that if I didn't know any better, I'd say that it was planned from the start, and Snoke was supposed to die in The Last Jedi, and his death now just seems right. And since we're on the topic of Palpatine, or we were like 10 seconds ago, let's talk about him. When I watched the teaser trailer with Palpatine's laugh at the end, I seriously screamed. Such a shock, but after it wore off, I was conflicted. I was happy because Palpatine was the main villain of the first two trilogies, so it's nice to have one main antagonist for the whole saga. Also, I think Palpatine is just such a good villain, which I'll explain more in some future video. But fighting that joy was doubt. I spent hours, but I couldn't think of a single way Palpatine could still be alive, a way that it would work and not feel awkward and forced, but wow. He was genuinely scary and was one of the best parts of the movie, and I loved how he kind of expanded the Sith lore. We all knew that the apprentice killed the master, became the master, and took a new apprentice, and that cycle continued, but having it be that each apprentice takes in the spirit of his master, so each Sith is just actually a combination of all the Sith, and so Palpatine had to endure to preserve the spirits of the Sith so he can't be defeated, is just, sorry, I just think it's really awesome. Another doubt I had was of Ben Solo. After The Force Awakens, where he killed Han Solo, who's been one of my heroes my whole life, I decided I really hated Kylo Ren. In The Last Jedi, it only deepened after he gave Rey hope and then crushed her. Rey is one of the best characters in Star Wars, and seeing that pain on her face at the end just rips my heart out. So I knew walking into Rise of Skywalker that I hated Ben Solo, and nothing would ever lead me to forgive him for what he did. I would never be able to forgive him. And then I did. And when he died, instead of the happiness I expected, I was both sad and at peace. His redemption arc was done so well. Leia was another doubt I had. Carrie Fisher was dead and they just had unused footage of her. But when I was watching that movie, I honestly forgot Carrie Fisher was dead. They used that footage so well. There was only one scene that felt kind of awkwardly done, but not too bad, so I was able to ignore it. I had expected her to just get killed off at the very beginning, kind of like Attack of the Clones, but a version where Padme didn't have a decoy. And Leia still died, but it was okay. And like Kylo Ren, it wasn't so much sad as it was peaceful. Until the little A-Team gets back to the Resistance and Chewie finds out. Right there is one of the things that makes this movie so great. The emotion in it. The grief that Chewbacca feels, not just about Leia, but just the fact that all his friends are gone. He lost his home when the Wookiees were enslaved, though he did get some of them back during the raid on Kessel. Yoda is dead, and he at least knew Yoda a little, though we don't know how long. But mostly just the friends he fought with in the war. Han, Luke, and now Leia. That grief he feels is what we all felt as our heroes died. Speaking of Chewbacca, another thing I liked about this was that he wasn't sidelined. Some of the main things that have bugged me about this trilogy is that some of our favorite characters have been hardcore sidelined. Chewie was in Episode 7, but he wasn't really in 8 a whole lot, so having him have his biggest role yet in this trilogy was great. Same with 3PO. I wanted more of him in 7 and 8, so making him a main character again was awesome. Unfortunately, R2 was sidelined, which is a bummer because I think he's my favorite character. Walking to the theater on December 19th, I just kept thinking, please don't let R2 and Chewie die. Please, R2 and Chewie don't die. And they lived, and Chewbacca got a medal. It always bugged me he didn't get one in 4. So let's talk about this finale, which is really what makes this the best Star Wars movie ever. Up until this point in the movie, I had, been really enjoying it, but it wasn't blowing me away. As much as I had hoped, at least. There'd been some great stuff, but the original trilogy is still better. Then we get the finale. What I thought was just going to be a battle between Rey and Palpatine, or between the Resistance and the Final Order, which is an awesome name, by the way, ended up being much bigger. Each of those thousands of Star Destroyers is planet-killing weapons, something that's been a pretty big part of Star Wars. After all, the Death Stars were all started back in 1977, but this is much worse than any Death Star. It's a fleet of much more mobile and weaponized ones. All worlds will surrender or die. If the Final Order wins this fight, then their victory is absolute. No 2 surviving Jedi, no baby left in a moisture farm as hope for the galaxy. It's all over, and much worse than what Revenge of the Sith was. However, if the Resistance can win this, that's the last of what Palpatine has got, and the galaxy truly will be free, more so than Return of the Jedi's ending. The stakes are higher than ever, and the Resistance is tiny next to the Final Order. Down on the ground, Ben comes to complete his redemption arc, and using the lightsabers of original heroes Luke and Leia, Rey and Ben begin to defend the galaxy, until Palpatine restores himself. Ben is seemingly killed. It's just Rey down there. Up in the sky, Poe begins to despair until all those ships come. All these people in the galaxy are coming to defend themselves. Sing Wedge again was also pretty nice. But it's the hope you feel as they come. And then it's all destroyed as Palpatine blasts his lightning to all the ships. We've never seen this much power. Makes Palpatine and all the dark side so much scarier than what we've ever seen before, especially right after destroying this newfound hope we got. And Rey is on the ground, the last hope for the galaxy, gazing into the sky. Be with me. The camera goes into the stars. I was talking to one of my friends about how much I love the fact that it goes past all the destruction to the calm of the stars, and she did a pretty good observation. She said, I got chills just remembering that scene, because when it goes past the battle and shows the stars, it reminds you of the opening scene of every movie. This movie is meant to tie up the whole saga, and that small little detail, along with so many others, are really what makes this such a fitting finale. But then comes, the best moment in cinematic history. The Jedi. All these Jedi we know and love. Obi-Wan, Anakin, Luke, Yoda, Mace Windu, Ahsoka, Kanan, all telling Rey to rise, to stand up, all of them with her. It's not just a battle between the Resistance and the Final Order, it's between the dark side and the light. I am all the Sith, and I And you know what's coming? But first, the lightsaber of Luke Skywalker and his father before him that was wielded by the last Skywalker now finds its way to the one who is all the Jedi. The lightsaber flies into her hand. All the Sith versus all the Jedi, the finale to the Star Wars saga. If you actually let it be, like, let go of your hate, it's so amazing. Let go of your want to hate it, I mean. If you let it be amazing and let go of your want to hate this movie, it is so amazing. And I think that's the main reason so many people hated this movie, is just that they wanted to hate it. It doesn't get as much hate as The Last Jedi because this one really is good. It gives us that fan service, yeah, but it does it justice, and it uses it to make the story. This movie isn't its own movie and probably wouldn't have been all that great if it was. Even if it's just finishing off and mending this trilogy. But no, it's the end to the greatest... It's like the end to this greatest story, a trilogy of trilogies. They round it all together to justify the existence of this trilogy and the saga, and now I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm actually okay with The Last Jedi existing now, and when I do a video about that, I'll talk about all the ways that this movie makes some of its sins better. When she's looking out at the ghosts of Luke and Leia and takes the name of Skywalker, I thought it was beautiful. But then I heard some people complaining about it. I had a friend of mine explain why she would have said Palpatine, and it makes sense, sort of. Well, there's two reasons. First one was just that having her take the name of Skywalker makes it weird that this is the end of the Skywalker saga, and that one bugs me. Bugs me that people call the main story the Skywalker saga, because that's not entirely what it is. It's a lot more than the story of the Skywalkers. It's the story of the fall of the Jedi and the Republic, and the attempts made to bring back the Jedi Order and restore the galaxy to better than it was before Palpatine. Yeah, the Skywalkers are key players in it, but they're not what it's all about. So I'm never going to call it the Skywalker saga, sorry. The other reason he had was much better. Palpatine was a Sith, like all the Sith of the darkness. And a lot of Star Wars has been about balance, and accepting her name as a Palpatine and being a Jedi completes that. Palpatine is now light, not dark. And I get it, but I still prefer Skywalker. She's renouncing her heritage of darkness. She was so afraid of the Palpatine blood in her, and so she's losing that fear, choosing to be a Skywalker like Luke or Anakin, who both ended up in the light, not letting her blood bind her to some destiny she doesn't want. And I think that, as well as like Ben Solo's whole redemption arc, and Chewbacca getting that medal, and that hug scene where the three of them are just so overcome with joy, it's just such a beautiful ending. Such a glorious finale and well done story. Thank you, George Lucas, J.J. Abrams, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, Ian McDiarmid, John Williams, and everyone else who helped craft the best and most fitting end to one of the greatest stories ever told. And I apologize if I pronounced your last names wrong. Well, that's all, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if I angered or offended you. Go ahead and feel free to like and subscribe, though honestly I don't care if you do. YouTube isn't how I make a living, it's just a hobby, so whatever. Next week I'm not sure if I want to do Solo or The Last Jedi. I either want to do reverse order, reverse release order, or reverse chronological order. If you do watch this, let me know what you prefer in the comment sections, unless you actually know me, in which case let me know over text or in person. I've got a feeling no strangers will watch this, though. I got a feeling no strangers will watch this. Though if I somehow become super famous, then 90% of the comments will be laughing at this. So, ha! I called it! Anyway, have a nice week, and see you next Monday, unless I die, or go blind, then I won't be able to see you. Wait.